Good evening, dear Kuwait television viewers, and welcome to another new episode of your weekly program, Kuwait in 30 Minutes. The English News and Political Programs Department has prepared a variety of reports that highlight the main events that have recently taken place across Kuwait. Our committed team of reporters is constantly engaged in numerous events with the objective of keeping you, dear viewers, aware of the latest information, regulations, and policies. Our aim is to help you obtain information on the latest developments at the local scene. So stay tuned for more coming your way this evening. Dear viewers, thank you once again for joining us with your favorite show, Kuwait in 30 Minutes. In this episode, we have a special guest who will speak about the latest developments concerning global climate. The change in the global climate is a very serious one. Almost all world nations have acknowledged the problems and danger associated with these changes and held a number of conferences to deal with this issue. Please welcome with me our guest senior meteorologist, Mr. Isa Ramadan. Hello and welcome.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. We're very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you. And it is a really important subject to talk about.
Of course.
And to aware the people also.
Of course.
Okay.
Let's move to a report prepared by our correspondent Najla Sadiq about a recent lecture presented by Mr. Isa Ramadan and sponsored by the Youth Association of Kuwait. The lecture, titled Adaptation to Climate Change, was held at the premises of the Youth Association of Kuwait and was open for the public. The Youth Association is a non-profit organization that hosts various events that cater matters related to both public and global concern. Their continuous attention to such subjects facilitates valued public interaction. The Paris Agreement for climate change was the main topic discussed. More on this from our reporter Najla Sadiq.
As the Paris Climate Accord today remains the prime topic of global concern, leading international organizations and communities bring individuals together to raise awareness on the matter and discuss elements pertaining to it. Through statistical reporting and monitoring weather patterns, greater preventative measures are defined for a safer environment and planet.
Climate change have started, since 1800s, and this is something that we have to be aware of in the next future, as a climate change affecting the whole Earth, the whole ecosystem also. The climate change have started by the early 1900s, and this is which were started to increase, in fact, and affected the ice and the polar areas, and also have been affected the trees and the Amazons, and have been affected the whole atmosphere. This is because of the increase of the CO2 and also the NOxes and the human, as they call it, anthropogenic effects of human beings and the earth itself. Maybe the increase of these kind of gases have made climate change and the increase in temperature around the world, and it affected the ice to melt, the sea level rise, and also the heat waves, which is extending some areas. Other parts of the world is going to be affecting it with cold spells. So there is a big changes in the atmosphere, in the upper atmosphere, which is going to change the climate. In fact, the rise by 0.9 degrees centigrade in the last 2 centuries affecting the air. So what we are going to think, if it is going to rise more than 1.5 to 2 degrees, which is going to be really scary to change the whole climate and the earth. So we have to be really careful of what is going to come up in the future, and this is going to affect the whole earth by maybe kind of famine, and also other parts with floods, and other parts with health-wise problems. More of the mosquitoes will going to move northward, and it's going to affect other countries, as malaria, as health diseases will increase some other parts. So climate change is not only in part of the world, no, it's going to be continuous to all parts of the world, and also have to be careful about what is going to affect the ecosystem in the oceans, in the seas, in the rivers, and everywhere else.
The Youth Association of Kuwait is a non-profit organization that allows members of the community to come together and partake in functions that include seminars, conferences, indoor and outdoor activities for all ages. Guests who attended the climate change presentation expressed their delight for the treasured opportunity to listen to an expert on the subject and have their questions answered.
Well, I'm so happy to attend this presentation about the importance of climate change. Actually, I think the climate change is a very important issue, globally issue, because the climate change affects our lives in person. So every one of us, we are looking in our mobile, and every day we are checking about the climate change, because from the weather and knowing how many the percent of the Celsius, we know what we are going to wear, if it's heat or if it's cold, or you know, the climate change affect our mood. If it's winter, you will notice that everybody will be happy and smiling and tolerant and forgiving. And if it's summer or it's very heat, you tend to see people, especially in the cars, they are angry and so active, actually.
The Paris Climate Accord continues to attract increasing attention globally as the visible changes in climate, nature, and habitat are extending at a given pace. Minimizing impact of the possible changes has brought communities closer in understanding and proactively facing the phenomenon for a brighter future. Climate change is a challenge that needs the attention of the global community to preserve our planet. From the Youth Association of Kuwait and Khaldiya, I'm Najla Sadiq, reporting for Kuwait in 30 minutes.
Welcome back, dear viewers, with our guest, senior meteorologist, Mr. Isa Ramadan. Mr. Isa, we're going to talk about a very serious subject today, which is climate change. Do you believe that climate change is caused by human behavior, or is it simply a natural phenomena that happens every few centuries?
It is both, two. One natural, and then anthropogenically, which is done by a human. So we have these two things. But if you go in the past, episodes have been changing, but for a long time, 1,000 years, something like this, and very slow. But the climate change, latest one, which is happening right now, it's very fast, with the anthropogenic effects, which is the emission of the human being, emission of the people after the Industrial Revolution, the gases which is causing the climate change, which is CO2, NOxes, and we have methane gas, the FCFC. These gases are the one which is now increasing the temperatures. As scientists, as people we are studying these things, we can find that the effect of the human beings and the increase of the pollutant in our atmosphere, it's a reason. It's also, we can feel it. It's the same thing with the ozone, which had been done by human beings because of using CFCs, chlorofluorocarbon, and emitting it, but like we have been judging this by reducing our emission from CFC since 1986, after Montreal Protocol, which was established in 18. This was an agreement to just stop using the CFC. Now the ozone, hole is, just trying to heal itself, and it's coming back to heal itself. By 2050, we are expecting that the ozone hole will, just close down again. So there is a really big relation that we are affecting our environment. This is my answer now, that yes, we are one of the parts that we are affecting our climate change now.
What are the main problems, let me say, caused by climate change?
A lot of things are going to happen. Really. The worst is coming up, more. Like we see the intensive hurricane, intensive thunderstorms, which causing floods now. Epidemics also. The temperature differences will transfer a lot of insects, like mosquitoes, for example, malarias, typhoid, other parts of things, which is going to move northward to the northern states also, and stay for a longer period, because the warmth which is moving, gonna let these insects just move and increase and just stay some of the areas which have never been seen. This is what we are also like WHO, World Health Organization, now talking about, that there are different epidemics moving, different diseases which are moving to other parts of the areas. Also starvation, where the rain and desertification will affect areas. So people like in Africa, these areas which have been affected by the just their food and their source is and waiting for the seasonal rainfall. So if it stops, like this year, for example, in Kuwait, the rainfall have decreased and we don't have any vegetation over the land. So this is going to affect also, but thank God we have the food to eat like this. But people who are been affected by dryness like this, by rain stopping in that area, and the movement of the air masses, which is are changing. So there are areas which is have been going to be affected with more floods, and there are some areas which is going to be normal for them. Like now, UK, for example, started to raise grape, which have been only for the Mediterranean areas. Right now, a lot of wineries, a lot of grape fields that have been on agriculture have a bloom because it's getting warmer in UK, for example, than the others. So this is going to affect the whole areas. Also, it's going to be an effect on the socio-economic, pattern that people we are living through, affecting us. We will pay more energy, for example, if we are going to continue using the fossil fuel. Why we don't change it? And so there are a lot of effects going to be happening.
Do you think that the withdrawal of the United States from the Paris Agreement, as we said, can have negative impact on its implementation?
For 2 years. And after that, they will come back to it. Because all the environmentalists, all the politicians, most of the politicians, they want the United States to be into that agreement. And they signed it, but President Trump pulled out. And people, they say, no, we are going, try to be implementing these things. And UK, like US now, implementing these things. They are into renewable energy. They are to reducing the emissions. So they are mitigating at the same time than just, being, listening to what is happening. So it's only an agreement, and they will be back very soon. And I have this feeling that they will be very soon, maybe by next year or after that, they will be signing back into the Paris Agreement.
Okay. As you said, environmentalists will be very eager for them to.
Of course, not only people who have been affected by hurricanes, by severe weather, by the cold spells that never happened. Now people who are growing, for example, orange, like in Florida, which they never have that kind of freezing levels. It will affect their, oranges. It affects their vegetation that in that area wasn't been hit by this kind of cold spells and freezing temperatures. So this will kind of affect these people who are going to talk, these people who are going to change.
Since they experience
what is happening. 25 trillion gallon of rain have hit with these 3 hurricanes which hit the United States. So we have to be very careful of what is coming up.
In your opinion, how can Kuwait contribute to solving problems associated with climate change?
I think awareness. We should reduce our using of electricity. Now in Kuwait, for example, we have to go to, for example, LEDs, lights. We have to reduce our emissions by our behaviors as human beings. Not eating that much and throwing that much and dumping it in the dumping areas, which also emits methane gas. And we can try other things. Transportation, for example. Everyone have cars. You know how much emission from our cars here? So for a group bus kind of using, you can go with a friend, for example, take like a trip or go to your work by a friend instead of using your car and emitting more gases. And same time, I think it's the time to put filters for everything, even our power plants. The industrial areas, we should put some laws to reduce our emission, then adapt to the climate change. You know, sea level rise is going to affect us. High temperatures, we have been experiencing a lot of temperatures. How much we need of energy to produce, to just try to cool down our area. We are getting 54 degrees now as an ambient temperature in the shade. The direct sunlight and the black body is getting to 80 degrees centigrade. So it's scary. So everyone have to be aware about. We have to reduce our emission. We have to mitigate. Also, fuel efficient. Everything should be efficient now. And this is something that we can help to reduce our emission in the future.
I think they started a little bit with having documentaries or like sending messages on our mobiles to lower our ACs. Yeah. They started, but we need more.
Yeah, you can reduce, for example, if you are using air conditioner in your home, the thermostat, just increase it to 23 degrees instead of 18 degrees. This is also your reduced emission. Okay, your boilers and using hot water. Instead of going to 90 degrees, 95 degrees, your thermostat, reduce it to 55 degrees. And this is going to also reduce a lot. Also, money-wise, the same time, emission. So these are the things. Put insulation. Use green buildings, for example.